All right, a new pharmaceutical company is hitting the market, but hold on, this isn't your typical pharma giant. Rubicon Research, they have a laser-focused strategy that really makes them stand out. So today, we're going to crack open their initial public offering using their own prospectus to see what makes them so unique. Let's get right into it. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this in 5 parts. First, we'll look at the size of their market debut. Then we'll dig into their unique focus on the US market. After that, we'll break down the deal itself, see how they stack up against the big players, and then we'll wrap up with the essential details for anyone watching this launch. All right, first up, the IPO itself. Just by looking at how this deal is put together, we can already get some pretty big clues about Rubicon's strategy and where they're trying to go. So the total offer size comes in at nearly 13.8 billion rupees. And let's be clear, that is a significant debut. It's a number that signals some major ambition, and yeah, it's definitely going to make the market sit up and pay attention. Now, this is where it gets interesting. A whopping 75% of this offer is reserved for what are called qualified institutional buyers, basically the big fish. And this wasn't really a choice, it's a regulatory rule. Because the company didn't hit a specific profitability mark recently, the process is set up to bring in those large, experienced investors first. So what makes Rubicon stand out from the crowd? I mean, the Indian pharmaceutical market is packed with players, right? Well, it turns out they've carved out a really unique and potentially very profitable niche. This quote, pulled right from their prospectus, really says it all. They're called the only Indian pharmaceutical player with a complete focus on regulated markets. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means they're playing in the big leagues, markets with super tough quality standards and, more importantly, much higher potential profits. And get this, just look at this number. Almost 98.5% of their revenue last fiscal year came from one place, the United States. That's not just a focus, you guys. That is an all-in, everything on the table bet on the biggest and most competitive pharma market in the entire world. And they're not just participating in the US market, they're actually leading in some key areas. As you can see right here, they hold a dominant market share for several major generic drugs. We're talking over a third of the market for products like baclofen and metoprolol. That's a seriously powerful position to be in. And this isn't some one-trick pony either. With 70 different products already on the market, Rubicon has built a broad and established portfolio. It shows they have an R&D engine that knows how to consistently deliver. Okay, so we know what they do and why they're unique. Now it's time to follow the money. Where is it all coming from? And maybe even more importantly, where is it all going? The IPO is basically split into 2 buckets. About 36% of it is a fresh issue. That's new money going directly into the company's bank account. But the bigger slice, 64%, is what's called an offer for sale. So what exactly is an offer for sale? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. A major existing shareholder, in this case the private equity firm General Atlantic, is cashing out some of its shares. The key thing to understand here is that this money goes to them, not to Rubicon. So what will Rubicon do with the new cash it is raising? They've laid out a pretty clear 2-step plan. First, they're going to pay down a significant chunk of debt. Second, they'll use the rest to fuel future growth, specifically looking at things like acquisitions and other strategic moves. So, how does a focused player like Rubicon really stack up against the titans of the Indian pharma industry? Let's take a look at the numbers. They might actually surprise you. This is the big question, isn't it? When you're in a field with giants, how does a niche player like Rubicon's performance actually measure up? Let's put them side by side and see. Whoa, okay, just look at these profitability numbers. Rubicon's return on net worth is clocking in at over 29%. That's significantly higher than industry heavyweights like Sun Pharma and Lupin. This points to a very, very efficient and profitable business model. And they are backing up that performance with serious investment in the future. Spending nearly 13% of revenue on R&D is a huge sign that they're not just resting on their current products, but are actively building their pipeline for whatever comes next. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. Even though it's smaller, Rubicon's focus strategy allows it to punch way above its weight, outperforming a lot of its larger competitors on some really key financial metrics. All right, let's get down to the practical stuff. For anyone who's following this IPO, here are the key dates and details you'll probably want to have on your radar. So here are the core details. Each share has a face value of 1 rupee, though the final price band is still to be determined. And once it's listed, you'll be able to find it on both the BSE and the NSE.
Time to mark your calendars. The whole process kicks off with anchor investors on October 8th, and then the offer opens up to everyone else from October 9th to the 13th.
And to wrap up, a very important reminder. This explainer is just for informational and educational purposes, based on the company's public prospectus. This is not investment advice. Investing in IPOs and equities carries significant risk, and you could lose your entire investment. So please be careful out there.